What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark, back to MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk some Oscars. These are my rankings of the 10 Best Picture nominees. This is what I think as a blind film critic. We're going to get into some stuff that's going to be super controversial right off the gate, but right out of the gate. But it's just my opinion, my perspective, and my perspective is probably wildly different because I usually use audio description to watch films with, and two of his films don't have it because Neon is the little orphan child on the side of the street with a little tin can, and they're saying, "Please, sir, we don't have any money." And you're like, "Isn't that your mansion behind?" No, it's not my mansion. Don't look at the mansion. Don't, sir. Please don't. Don't. But you have enough money. You're running $1 million campaigns for these movies. You didn't have like $10,000 to create. No, we didn't. Don't look over there, sir. Please don't. That's not my house, sir. I just would love for you to continue to give me money. Thank you. Look the other way. I didn't look the other way. Neon knows better, and fuck him. So my number 10 is Secret Agent. Uh, it's a film that doesn't have audio description, and it has almost no English in it. So it was hard to follow and understand. There was like one song that was in English. There's a scene where like the spies all meet or something. I don't know what happens. I have no context to the film. And the one thing that I did say about Secret Agent when I reviewed it, is that I love the score. Like out of context, just listening to the score to Secret Agent, I thought was super cool. It felt like it was a score that was very inspired by other things. So yeah, Secret Agent's score has stood out to me. I think it was even I made sure to put it on my list of my favorite scores of the year because um the funny thing is that when you listen to a foreign language film, you have very little things that you can listen to if it's not in English. And that was one of the times where it's like I listened to the score and I was like, damn, I really like this. Now I understand why Seurat, like people gravitate towards this, but I still like my traditional scores. And so if I had to pay this film a compliment, I would say I like the score and not enough people have talked about it. You can guess number 9. It's Sentimental Value. Which I probably should have put at number 10 just to punish it more because it does have English. So, of all of the films that made the most sense for Neon to put the audio description on, it was the film with Elle Fanning, whose entire performance is in English. What the fuck? WTF, Neon? I haven't reviewed this film yet because I just don't know what to do with it because I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the grade and the system, and do I give it a number? Do I give it a letter grade? Do I fresh, rotten? What do I do with it? I still haven't answered that question yet because yeah, there are parts of this film where I can understand it, and because of Elle Fanning, and when the characters need to interact with Elle Fanning, they have to talk to her in English because you can't understand the other language. So because we have this um, character that's been inserted into the movie, it makes it more interesting. But also at the same time, it's like Neon didn't put this one didn't get audio. It's so weird. It feels so negligent. So again, due to lack of accessibility and the fact that the other 8 films all had audio description, Sentimental Value falls into ninth place. I think based on what it is, I would definitely like Sentimental Value more. The fact that it's about like a director who's trying to make this like magnum opus, type thing where it's representative of his life coming sort of like full circle. I think there's something there. I'm really rooting for Stellan Skarsgård. It's funny because even in the supporting actor category, I look at the nominees and it's like, well, Benicio and Sean both have Oscars. Jacob is a little young; he doesn't need it. So basically, I'm between Stellan and Delroy, and there's a world where I could see myself voting for Stellan Skarsgård for sentimental value. If I was an Oscar voter in that category, even though his performance is not accessible to me, but it's the fact that Stellan is. But he's up against Delroy. See, I before I didn't think Delroy was going to get in. It was really easy for me to say because I was thinking it was going to be like Stellan and those 4, and then like Paul Mescal, right? I was like, well, I'm going to vote for Stellan Skarsgård because he deserves to have the win of those people. But when they swapped Paul Mescal for uh, Delroy Lindo, I became like, oh God, either one of those men would be my choice. So I'm sort of like a coin flip, and Delroy would be a nice surprise, a very pleasant surprise, considering he should have already been nominated once before for *Da 5 Bloods. But I'm sure there's a performance of Stellan Skarsgård where I could say the same thing. So, anyways, at number 9, now we got those films out of the way. Out of the way. So this gets a little bit more into the trickier area of like, where do these films place on my ranking and why? Now, it's really important to know that like the other 8 films, I think entirely were in my, I think I listed all of these films in my my non-negotiables, my favorite films of the year, in some form or another. Like I think they were all there. I don't think there's a single film that missed. So these other 8 films were all part of my top like 35-ish, something, whatever I had. It was like about that. Of the 530 films I saw last year. So ranking these is sort of a fool's errand. But if I have to think about reasons why things are lower or higher than another, then we're going with that. So for number 8 for me is Marty Supreme. I know for a lot of people that they're going to be like, what? I love that movie. I think the movie is excellent for Chalamet. It's a tour de force performance for him. I love Josh's pacing on this. I think it's a very well-directed film, and it shows which one of the two Safdie brothers has been pushing that sort of anxious narrative. Because one of the because the Rock's film, I forgot Smashing Machine. Smashing Machine doesn't have the same frenetic energy to it, but Marty Supreme feels like it's in a dead sprint the whole time. The only reason I give this lower is because I actually really don't think he represented his supporting females as well as he could have, which is why none of them got nominations. I think they all felt like they were missing like a scene. Odessa Zion comes closest to feeling like a fully fleshed out character and not just somebody who's there to just support Chalamet. Um, I know you're like, but it's supporting actress. Isn't she there to support? I was like, yeah, don't you want to know a little bit more about her? You know, she kind of feels like this character who gets kind of trapped in this circle of shit with Marty and gets kind of pulled into it. I thought Gwyneth Paltrow, considering the fact that it's a very meta casting to have an actress who has herself been questioned for her own ability, who hasn't returned to the Oscars since her win for Shakespeare in Love, and then missed out again this year. To have an actress who you could have had some really introspective moments with, and you kind of just dodged it because I guess you thought you didn't want the movie to slow down. It was more interesting for Safdie to put sex scenes in with Gwyneth Paltrow, which is not character development. And then also Fran Drescher, like that's great casting. And like toward the end of the movie, when Marty's like running in right at the end of the movie, and he just looks at his parents, I'm like, that's a great scene. Could you imagine? It would have been like having um, that scene in Call Me by Your Name, right? Where Chalamet goes in and he's really upset and he sits down with his dad. And it's like that scene alone got Michael Stuhlbarg like into awards consideration. Like people were talking like, oh, maybe he'll get the nomination for this because that one scene is great. You could have given Fran that moment because she's right there. It's so close. It's within her grasp. And nobody's ever required Fran to do this level of dramatic work before. And he just took it away from her and just has Marty continue to run. He's so focused on highlighting Marty and Chalamet that I feel like the women fell to the wayside. So while I think there's a lot about this film, and I love the audio description track, Roy Samuelson Deluxe, I'm putting it at number 8. It's my number 8 film on the list. Sorry, but also not sorry. Coming in at number 7 is Hamnet. I love Hamnet. I do. I love Hamnet. I've already seen it twice without audio description because my screener did not come with it. And I know I'm going to have to see it a third time, and it's a brutal thing. So the reason why Hamnet ended up lower than some others has more to do with rewatchability. I just don't see myself like wanting to put this in 1,000 times over and over and over and over again. Um, it's definitely got one more watch in it because I need it. I need to get it with the audio description so I can answer some loose questions. But Jesse Buckley's performance here is incredible. I mean, just my God. I actually like this film better, more than Nomadland, so I think it's more of an achievement for Chloe Zhao. Um, Paul Mescal's great. Noah Jupe is great here, which he's been getting a lot of praise for his youth performance. So there's a lot to like about Hamnet. I love that it's confused people into believing that this was a real thing that actually happened. I've seen that in a couple reviews where they're like, "Oh, it takes this real life tragedy." I'm like, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't take real life tragedy. This is fan fiction." Um, so yeah, um, but really good fan fiction. Anyway, yeah, it's just its seventh because of rewatchability. Like I've already seen it twice. I'm looking at watching it a third time whenever it hits Peacock so that I can get it with audio description. It's like I just don't know how many more times after that because it's so sad. Like it's so brutal. I just don't know that it's a film that I'm gonna put in like over and over and be like, yes, oh my God, please give it to me. Um, so anyway, that's number seven. Number six on the list might be a little controversial also. But it is, in fact, one battle after another. A film that I think is very well directed. It's very well done. I don't know that it's anybody's best work. So it falls into that trap of being a very terrific film that is nobody's number one. It's not Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie. I think he definitely has some of his earlier work, like Boogie Nights, and even the stylistic choices he makes with Magnolia are more interesting than what he does here. But There Will Be Blood, man. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm willing to fight it. This is not past There Will Be Blood. Like, There Will Be Blood is excellent. In my opinion, I also didn't pass Boogie Nights. So it's hard for me to root for it from a PTA stance purely on that, but also he does deserve an Oscar. Like, it's crazy he's never won one for either directing or writing. So, bizarre. So even though this is six, I want him to walk away with an Oscar on March 15th for something. So, yeah, One Battle. It just, for me, I've seen it twice. I think it's a very of the moment movie that I question whether or not it's going to age well. That's my question with One Battle. Is 20 years from now, when we're not feeling the political landscape and we're having to remind ourselves of the political landscape, is this film going to be as powerful as it is, or is this film going to get sort of lost to time, as sometimes political movies do when the landscape shifts and they're not as resonant as they were back then? It's sort of like if you look at the war movies, right? Like for a long time, we used to cherish all of these war movies that were coming up out of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and they kind of have congealed into war movie as like a genre instead of a lot of them still standing out. You don't hear too many people like running around and being like, Platoon! Because at a certain point, the general audience and how they remember the war, the, you know, I mean, those people are going to age out. So, and then we keep making more and more war movies about other wars. So, I wonder if One Battle is not going to be a film that, for one reason or another, ends up feeling less impactful because it was more of the time. It lined up perfectly. I've also debated about whether or not it would still be the front runner if the election had gone differently. And I don't think it would be. I think if the election had gone in a different direction, One Battle would have gotten the nomination, but it wouldn't be the front runner to win. I think it's balancing a lot based off of the current climate, and I don't know that that makes for longevity. I enjoyed the film, but at no point in the film did I go, "This is PTA's best," because I would say that's There Will Be Blood. This is DiCaprio's best because there are at least like 10 more films of his that I liked more than this. Not just films, but performances of his. Um, you know, God, I don't know, Wolf of Wall Street. I like him even more in like things like The Departed and Gangs of New York. He's terrific in Marvin's Room for people who haven't seen that, all the way back to his first nomination. I mean, he has such an exceptional career that while it's fun to watch him play a stoner, it's like this is not the pinnacle of his career. It's not Benicio's best performance. That's a man who also takes on a lot of fantastic roles, and when you compare it to Traffic, he's excellent in Traffic. Benicio's been doing great work for years. I actually liked him more in Venetian Scheme this year. Sean Penn. This is not Sean Penn's best role. It is Chase Infinities because she's a debut performer, but it's not Tiana. Did you see 1001? If you haven't seen 1001, I encourage you to do so. It's a movie that she's actually in basically the whole thing instead of the first chunk of it. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the curse and why the film is only in sixth for me. I probably lost everybody at this point. They're like, I don't know. But isn't that what makes it interesting? The fact that I had the balls to put this at six instead of it's like, well, I guess I'll put it higher on the list. So we're now moving into the top five. What did I put above it? Um, in fifth place is Frankenstein. For a lot of the same reason about the other films below, is I don't know how rewatchable it is over and over again. I like Guillermo del Toro. I don't think it's his best work. I do think it's one of his best works, but there are other films of his that I like more. So this one's a little bit closer. It's sort of like One Battle. It's like with PTA. It's not. There are films that I didn't like of PTA's that are below it for sure. Same thing with Frankenstein. There are films of Del Toro that I like less than Frankenstein. The like his most recent one, not Pinocchio. I actually like Pinocchio more than Frankenstein, but Nightmare Alley I would put below this. So it's long. I don't know how much I'm gonna watch it over and over again. It is Frankenstein, so I feel like by the time I want to rewatch Frankenstein, somebody will just make another Frankenstein movie. So um, I did like it though a lot. I love Frankenstein watching it the first time through, and that moment is with me. But I also have the presence of mind to think to myself, how many more times am I realistically going to watch Frankenstein in my lifetime? Maybe two, maybe it gets to like three. I don't feel like it has strong rewatchability factor, although I'm captivated consistently by everything Guillermo del Toro does. Jacob Elordi here is amazing. Um, so yeah, I really like Frankenstein. It has an excellent score. So there's a lot to love about Frankenstein, and I feel comfortable putting it here in fifth place. Yeah. In fourth place, we're moving along here. Train Dreams, the other Netflix movie, which surprised me as how much I liked it because I felt like people were approaching it like it was this like slog of a movie, and people were like, oh, I don't know if this movie's for everybody. I'm like, how is it not? And it's like Bleeding America, and it's like this is a guy who just like living his life. He's doing his thing. He's out there making a life for himself. He's doing things with his hands, building things and building a life, and feels like the American dream realized. Like on in film, in many ways, it feels like the film that everybody who doesn't like One Battle After Another would vote for Train Dreams, or F1, I guess. But yeah, it feels like the kind of film that they just embrace, where they go, yeah, there's a man being a man out there in the wilderness. It's very well directed. Clint Bentley does a lovely job with it. Joel Edgerton is terrific in the film, as he has been typically. It's sad that we don't have enough spots to be able to nominate all the actors this year that deserve nominations, and actresses and all those people. That were just like five, that's it. And he couldn't break into the race because it's a very sort of internalized performance, very subdued. William H. Macy is fun here. I loved Will Patton, and I love all of the people who have all of the little. This is why people need to pay more attention to critics, is because basically everybody has some sort of a voiceover performance award, or like a hybrid performance, something that allows for you to pick the people who create, who do great work, generally in animated features. But Will Patton has been killing those nominations. He's been like sweeping, getting in for narrating this because he's such the perfect choice for this. Anyway, I love Train Dreams. It has some lovely music to it, and I definitely I can see myself watching Train Dreams again before Frankenstein. So I put it a little bit above Frankenstein. Now we're into the top three, and people are thinking to themselves, what are the three films left that I haven't said yet? And how dare you, sir? So, yeah, I mean, my top three are essentially going to be F1, Begonia, and Sinners. but in which order? So, this is kind of tight for me, but this is being honest. My number three is Sinners. As much as I love the originality behind it, I've seen it now 3 times. And the weird thing about Sinners is, I mentioned this in like another video of mine, I can't remember the music for the life of me. As much as I love the music while it's happening, I cannot pull a damn song from this movie out of my head because it's such an amalgamation of so many different cultures. But I can't, for a movie that is this strongly about music, like, it's like I'm a goldfish when this movie is over. I'm like, what is, people keep going, like, what's lie to you? I'm like, I can't remember it. I have like movie Alzheimer's when it comes to the music of Sinners, and I've seen it 3 times. So it's the only film I've seen 3 times of all of the 2025 movies. So you would think it should be number one. I keep watching it because it's the craft here. Ryan Coogler, by the way, is my pick for director of the year. So for people who are like, I don't know, Ryan Coogler deserves it. It's a vampire movie that deals with, I mean, so many different like social racial issues. It's crazy. And the mix of and the fact that it's an original film. Come on, man. I feel like what we're doing this year with One Battle versus Sinners is, I think, 30 years from now, we're gonna look back on this. We're gonna be like, why the fuck didn't Sinners win Best Picture? It's gonna be like Goodfellas. Like, it's gonna be something that feels like so shockingly original that people end up remembering it forever. That people go, well, this is iconic. I think Sinners is iconic, even though it's my number three. I think it's the film that sustains. The only reason it's number three is because I truly cannot remember the music in this film. I also struggle with the performances and like who deserves a nomination and who doesn't. Um, Wumi Mashako is not somebody I would have put in the best actor, supporting actress race. I think there were some other people there. She just didn't stand out to me anytime that I've watched this movie as being a performer. I love Delroy Lindo and super happy he's there. And Michael B. Jordan does have the dual performances, but I don't think I would have given this film a supporting actress nomination. Um, but man, this film's great. This is such an original film. It's stunning in all of its stuff, and the way that it sort of flips the script towards the end there, and just becomes something completely different. And I love it. I do. And I know it's weird because it's the only film I've seen. To be fair, the films I put above it, I've seen twice. I just haven't seen it a third time. So, with that being said, my number two film is F1, the surprising film that I'm sure was at the bottom of everybody's list. They were like, I don't know, does F1 really need a Best Picture nomination? It's like, yeah, but wasn't it great? Like, wasn't it like low key great to feel that like summer blockbuster pride again? To actually go into a summer blockbuster movie and realize, like, oh shit, that was actually good. Like, not just like, well, that was fun or it was shiny or it was pretty to look at or anything, but there was actually like a plot there with a story and with characters that you actually enjoyed. I have actually seen F1 twice, and I did actually enjoy it as much the second time around as I did the first time. So because of that, I allowed F1 to float closer to the top. I think Joseph Kaczynski, he's doing a lot with this, legacy stuff where you're leaving sort of this like, what is it behind and teaching like the next generation to come up behind you. And that's what makes his career interesting. If as long as you leapfrog over Spiderhead, which is terrible, uh, you'll be fine. But otherwise, he's that seems to be a recurring theme for his movies. I'm excited about the next thing that he does. Um, so to see whatever that is, to see if maybe he has course corrected. He feels like he's a better version of Michael Bay. Like he's figured out how to work perfectly in conjunction with Jerry Bruckheimer to deliver not just films that are thrilling and suspenseful, but films that also have a lot of heart to them. Sort of like what Michael Bay was trying to do way back in the beginning with like The Rock, where the film was like action, suspenseful, but also had a little bit of story to it and purpose and reasoning behind it. There was a glimmer of that at the beginning of his career, and then it just kind of went down the tube. But it was there. There was this tiny shimmer, shining shimmer of it at the beginning. Kaczynski seems to have taken that and actually turned that cubic zirconia into a diamond. So, yeah, that means my number one film was Begonia, which I know is nobody's like number one film. And yes, I had the audacity to put Begonia at number one. It was my number four film for the year, three film. I can't remember. It's either my number three or number four. Now I can't remember if I put it above or below If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. My three and four were Begonia and If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's the highest film that I had on my list. So this was a pretty easy thing. It's not going to win. But I'd be one of those few people who would actually put this, if it's ranked choice voting, I would actually put Begonia at number one. And somebody would be looking at the ballots and be like, holy shit, someone put Begonia at number one. And I'd be like, yeah, because I vote honestly. And so, given these contenders, why not? You know, I mean, why not? When in Rome, you know. I think it's my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos movie because it fully encapsulates the weirdness that he keeps leaning into. I think Emma Stone was better in Poor Things, but she's great here. I think it's actually Jesse Plemons that is the star of Begonia. It's sad that he didn't get the nomination. I think it's the performance of his career. I think he's way better in Begonia than he was in Power of the Dog, which is his Oscar nomination, which is so sad. That happened to a couple actors this year where it's like because they've been nominated for something that was like before, they didn't get the nomination this year. I'm sorry, but Amanda Seyfried is like way better in Testament of Anne Lee than she was in Mank. Like her Oscar nomination is for Mank. Jesse Plemons for Power of the Dog. No, it should be for Testament Family, and it should be for Begonia for those two. Like we should have found room for Jesse Plemons on this list. Um, I mean, I know like it's hard. It's like where do you put him in? It's like DiCaprio has a bunch of nominations and he's not going to win for one battle after another. So if I absolutely have to put somebody in to put Jesse Plemons in so that he can actually be nominated for his best performance, which is not DiCaprio's best performance, then I would feel no shame in doing that. Is DiCaprio great? Is it sad that he keeps missing recently? Sure. But Plemons should have been recognized for being at the top of his career, and I would have been perfectly fine even sacrificing Emma's nomination at the same time if it meant Jesse got one. That would have been a flip for everybody who thought Emma was going to get in if Jesse was the only one who did. He's just not Emma Stone. He's not the little Oscar darling that gets up all the nominations. But I love this weird little movie. I think it's terrific. I think it's the score is my favorite score of the year. Um, I think it does a lot. The only problems that I had was sort of in the it becomes a little infantilizing the way that he treats his autistic cousin. It's sort of it's a little bit of a degrading take on autism. I think his brother's a little bit smarter than that, and should be given a little bit more autonomy. Um, but he kind of seems like there's a little bit of that uncomfortability there. But it's hard for me to speak purely from that stance, not being a member of the community. But it does make me uncomfortable to the point where if other people who had ASD came up to me and said, "Well, this film makes us uncomfortable," I'd be like, "Oh, I get it," because I had an inkling with Song Song Blue, and then people who were in the mobility disability community started speaking out about that film, and yeah, yeah, and it's not that they expected them to cast somebody who had actually lost. It's in the way that the performance and the way the film is shaped and crafted and everything. It's not a great representation of their experience. So that's possible here, but again, I don't have autism, so it's just something that made me a little bit uncomfortable when just because I know people who do have, who are on the spectrum, and they're far more capable and uh, would not be pushed into so many things that he's easily pushed into here. So, but that's a great film. It's a great film. All the stuff, all the conversations that Jesse has with Emma Stone about the future of the race and all that kind of stuff, and saving the species. And I think Yorgos does a great job of balancing it so you're not really sure who's the crazy one. You know, you're not really sure if Jesse's crazy or if he's right. So that's my list. Let me know what your list is in the comments and yell at me about ranking your favorite films lower than others. But also appreciate the fact that I could have just done it the typical way, where it's like my top two films happen to be One Battle of Sinners. Look at that. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Anyway, I'll see you guys on the other side.